Hi, this is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net, and in today's video you're going to learn the best way to visualize scales on the guitar. Now, it can be very daunting to look at all the scale shapes and, how do you remember them? How do you visualize them on the guitar so that you can use them in your playing? Well, there are many systems out there for doing so. However, it's important to realize that they're not all equal. In this lesson, I sit down with guitar playing breakthrough specialist Tom Hess to discuss and demonstrate the best way to learn scales on guitar. So whether you want to learn the major scale, the minor scale, pentatonic scale, the modes, the harmonic minor, whatever it might be, what you need is an efficient system that makes it very easy to visualize scales on the guitar. So you're going to learn the best system for visualizing scales on the guitar. You'll also learn why the cage system, although popular, is not the best way to go and what to do instead. And you'll also learn that there is only one pattern for any major or minor scale that you need to learn to play any major or minor scale on the fretboard. So let's get to it. I know there's, popular methods for learning scales, and there's so many different ways you can play them on a stringed instrument like the guitar, so it can get very confusing. So perhaps your approach or advice for learning, visualizing scales, arpeggios, single note stuff on the fretboard.
Yeah, a lot of different ways you can approach this. So some people are familiar with the caged system of scales on the guitar. I do not recommend using that system. If you already know it and you're very fluent at it and good at it, okay, then fine. But if you're not very familiar with, if you don't have the cage system really learned well, stop where you are and learn 3-note per string system. Okay, I think it's a better system overall. Now, if you're completely fluent with the cage system and you burn up and down the guitar with ease fluently using that system, maybe you don't need to start over completely learning the 3-note per string system, and at least in terms of the visualization of where things are on the guitar. But if you're not totally fluent with that, the cage system or some other system, I would strongly recommend, for many reasons, 3-note per string scale fingerings for major scales, minor scales, harmonic, melodic minor, all the modes. Okay. Pentatonic scales would typically be the 2-note per string fingerings. Okay. So excluding pentatonics, right, or pentatonic exotic scales, 3 notes per string is going to be a better way to see how things lay out. It's going to be better for a lot of reasons that we don't have time to get into right now here. But the 3-note per string is what I would suggest to do. So one approach to doing this is to simply memorize the patterns. Okay, so there's a simple repeating pattern that occurs everywhere on the guitar. Doesn't matter what mode you're in, what key you're in. Okay, we're talking about major, minor, natural minor, and major scale in all their corresponding modes. Okay, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, etc. Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, major minor scales is what we're talking about. So if you notice, you've got this shape here. I'm starting on C. That's C, fret 8 on the guitar, fret 8. So now you get a whole step here. You're skipping a fret, whole step here, you're skipping a fret. Okay, so this is the shape here. Okay, first finger, second finger, fourth finger. Now, the notes are C, D, and E. But right now, we don't want to concern ourselves with what the names of these notes are in this moment. Why? Because if you say, and this is a challenge that happens with people that come from, let's say, a piano background. They think about their scales in terms of the letters in there, because on piano, most scales have a different fingering. So the scale for C major and the scale for A flat major are not the same on a piano. On guitar, they're exactly the same. Okay, there's C major, there's A flat. It's exactly the same. It's just moved up and down. Just like you take a bar chord and you move it up and down. Okay, you don't have to change your fingering or anything as you go from one key to the next. So it's good to memorize the pattern. So for a major scale, you've got whole step and whole step. Okay, same thing on the next string. Okay, so these two strings are the same. Then on the next string, you got a half step here and then a whole step. So it's finger 1, 2, and 4. Same thing on the next string. And then you've got this whole step, half step on the top two strings. Okay, so basically you've only got 3 little patterns. Even though we're playing 6 strings, you've got only 3 patterns, and it's pretty easy to learn. So on the bottom 2 strings, the pattern looks like this. On string 6 and 5, looks like that, okay? On strings, the middle two strings, strings 3 and 4, it looks like this, the top one, okay? And on the highest two strings, it's going to look like this. On the top two strings, the top line for the top two strings. So you play this for strings 6 and 5, you play this for strings 4 and 3, you play this for strings 2 and 1, okay? Now, every scale fingering in the 3-note per string system is going to be some combination of those three shapes. That's all it is. It's all it is. So I get a lot of students, and Simon, I know you probably do too, guys or women that have been playing guitar 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and will say, I don't know any scales. Somehow I've made it 40 years playing guitar, and I don't know any scales whatsoever. Well, scales are pretty easy. The standard scales, it's either going to be that, that, or that, and you just memorize the order. That's it. It's pretty simple. So for the major scale, you got 2 of these, 2 of those, and 2 of those in that order. It's really easy. Okay. Now we haven't talked about what the letter names are. We've only talked about what the shapes are. Okay. So if you know that shape, congratulations. You may have been playing guitar for 40 years and say you don't know any scales. Now you do. Now you do. That's the major scale. And if you want to move that from C down to G, you do the same patterns. And you got now a G scale. You want to do A major, put your finger on A. Now you're playing A major. It's really simple, actually. It's not hard at all. Okay. Now, the other scale fingerings to use other parts of the guitar, okay, other fingerings like Dorian and Phrygian, those fingerings are still this. It's just that the order is different. But these are the only 3 patterns you're going to encounter. That's it. There's nothing else, okay, in the standard major and minor scales. When you get to harmonic minor or melodic minor, then some of these shapes change a little bit. But for typical major and natural minor keys, that's all there is. It's really, really simple. It is not hard at all.
Yeah, that's I can just tell people here from experience that I didn't see that pattern, exactly what you demonstrated then. I did not see for the first 26 years of playing guitar. I learned the cage system. I did that. I taught that for a number of years, early sort of days teaching wise. So I was very familiar with the cage system. I did learn 3-note per string scales from a teacher somewhere back early years too. So I'd kind of go by both systems thinking, well, I'll know them better if I know both systems. But as far as the 3-note per string, I would learn the 7 shapes that you typically get, you know, and they're labeled Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, not that you're only going to get that sound out of that scale, but I just saw them as 7 separate scale shapes. I didn't see it as one repeating pattern that, you know, just that in itself just made everything so much easier. So I can absolutely vouch for what you're saying there in terms of how much easier that is. And that's coming from someone who's tried all the other things over the years and learnt the fretboard pretty well, but it was a long time and nowhere near as accessible to me as it is now, going with that, you know, or realizing the pattern that exists or the sequence that exists in the 3-note per string. So yeah, it's super, super simple once you latch into that pattern and just realize it's a rotating sequence of 7 strings, basically. If you like this video, then you'll love this ebook audio from my Jazz Concepts for Acoustic Guitar series titled Arpeggios. In this ebook, you will learn exactly what arpeggios are, how to visualize them on the fretboard, and several ways to use them in your guitar playing. I will run you through 3 key major arpeggio shapes and 3 key minor arpeggio shapes and how each of these relate to each other on the fretboard so you can easily access them in your playing. Not only will you learn the conventional way of applying arpeggios to your guitar playing, but I will also show you how to instantly multiply your soloing possibilities with each arpeggio shape through arpeggio superimposition. This sounds complicated, but it's super simple. I will not only show you how all this stuff works on the fretboard, but also explain it to you so you can understand the theory behind it all. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook audio, Jazz Concepts for Acoustic Guitar Arpeggios. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments below the video what acoustic guitar topics or any guitar topic you'd like to see covered in future videos. I'd love to hear from you. A lot of the topics I do cover have come from suggestions from you, so don't be shy, drop us a line below this video. If you like this video, then hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And of course, hit the all-important notification bell button so YouTube will tell you when I've released a new video, which is every single week. This is Simon Candy from acousticguitarlessonsonline.net. As always, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope it's helped. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do so, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.